It's because you don't truly care enough.
I also don't think there's such a thing as someone who is truly too busy.
If your habits are not in line with what you say you want to do, it means you don't want it bad enough.
If you don't want to go to the gym, like go anyways.
Where's the thing that's stopping you? You.
Are these people just lazy, or are some of these people actually too busy? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm fired up.
And welcome to Motivation Monday. We have a jam-packed, incredible, value-added episode for you today, and I'm going to waste none of your time. Let's hop into the episode. So our first question out of the mailbag, and I love this question, I feel like we're going to get some good discussion here, is a lot of your listeners are busy parents or business owners who say they just don't have time. I feel everyone has different circumstances, and I know you've touched on it briefly, but are these people just lazy, or are some of these people actually too busy? What is your response to this? So I want to jump into this first because this has always been something on my mind and always something I've thought about, right? And something that it's just always been top of mind more than anything. And I truly believe you don't find time, you make time. And me and Kyle have spoke on this a lot as well, just like in our personal conversations. And in life, we tend to make time for the things we prioritize. And where we spend our time, what we end up doing, that is showing ourselves what we actually prioritize when push comes to shove. So that's where I've never liked the excuse of like, oh, I'm not able to, or when people just say I'm too busy. A lot of the time people say I'm too busy to do anything. It's so crazy, this, that, the other. Everyone has different skills. Some people are more busy than others, but ultimately, if it's something you value, you'll find a way there. If I say, hey, do you want to come to a private jet tonight to go to this favorite concert of yours, and I'm going to fly you back and I'm covering everything, I assure you you'll find a way to do it, right? Because that would be high priority. It'd be something you value. And I think just the same, a lot of these people will say they have no time, probably do have circumstances where they're incredibly busy. They have a lot going on. They have more challenges. They're in a super swarm type of life. But even if you do a time audit in that time, like even a good example is parents. And obviously this is front of mind, myself with 2 kids, Kyle with 1. It's easy for us to see other people, to be in that myself. And I can understand even for me how it is harder to do things. Like getting away requires more coordinating with my wife and childcare and like getting to the gym per se, and like even eating food. There's different challenges with that. Like I'll hear, oh, my kids don't want to eat what I want to eat. And there's always things that pop up, but for every challenge, there is a solution. And just the same, it's easy to default to really negative patterns, like just screen sucking while you're around with your kids and scrolling social and just looking for quick dopamine with snacks and eating the garbage foods that kids will eat and different opportunities there. Or you can use that situation to say, how can I elevate? So when I first had like my first child, I was like, I need to use this time to like allow myself to level up and understand that I will be busier than ever. It's going to be harder than ever, but I need to find a way to win with the cards that I have at hand. So I started making rules, and I'm like, okay, well, I need to maintain my fitness, my health, my happiness. I need to be growing. Like, what are some ways to do this? And I was like, okay, well, with a baby, I can not only give my wife a break, I can spend time with my baby. I can get my baby outside, and I can be active by baby wearing that baby and going on a walk. And like right away, it combined a lot of amazing things, and it was kind of like a win-win-win for everyone. And there is some friction there. These babies get heavy when you walk long enough with them. It's a bit of an adjustment. I bought a bad baby carrier and I ended up upgrading because I realized it was a big difference. But even during that time as well, I'm like, hey, I could listen to a parenting audiobook, or I can improve my skill set that much more. And it was me finding a way to do it instead of saying, oh my gosh, this baby's so hard, I can't do anything. That is me actively looking for a situation. So I don't think anyone is inherently just lazy. I think we can either rise or fall to our circumstance. And I think a lot of it takes creativity, takes motivation. It takes a decision to say, I'm going to do this time audit. I'm going to better use my time. I'm going to make smart decisions. Like even for me, I did my abs the other day while my kids were playing with toys, and they thought it was hilarious. And they were like, jumping on me is a little bit harder. It definitely added some difficulty and stuff, but it was like a kind of a good mix. Or even lately, I'm like, okay, I can stretch while they're playing and I can play with them just the same. And like, you can kind of work that in, or you'll hear of moms doing like baby workouts or dividing time with a partner to get there. And just the same, like with exam season, I was like, when I study, I know I'll be in a better situation because of it. Like it's going to clear my brain, I'm going to perform better. And like, it's important I take care of myself and not just let myself fall by the wayside so I can get good grades. So like, there are just countless examples. And the reason I went on this whole thing is that I assure you, no matter what pops up, you can find a way through it. And there might be different periods of your life where you can reach and be more aggressive towards progress, and times where you have to say, okay, like what's just the best I can do in this particularly busy season, right? And you need to be able to identify both. But there are definitely realities, and that's why with clients, like I'm aware of these things, and having lived more life experience, like it was harder for me to say this when I was like 19 and had less life experience. And by all means, I guess I'm still young, I'm 30, but no matter what, I assure you there is a solution, and through different challenges, we help our clients to navigate it. So I don't think at all it's that people are lazy, but I also don't think there's such a thing as someone who is truly too busy. And that might offend you, and you might say, okay, well, you don't know my story. And I don't. And you might be way busier and have it way worse than me. But it's either like you need to find a way to succeed with that, or you effectively just need to accept, like, I'm never going to be fit. My health is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And like, that's no way to live just the same, right? Like, even if you're working 7 days a week, 14 hours, are there breaks where you can go on a walk? Can you get a walking pad? Can you get a standing desk? Can you eat healthier foods? Because ultimately no one's putting food in your mouth, right? Can you make those harder decisions where if the whole office is ordering junk food, you say, okay, I'm going to pack my food anyways, or I'm going to pay that extra money and order something else? Because usually it's a push pull. Like if you're off with a baby, right? You have no time, but you also have more time in a sense away from other things. It's just going to be a little bit different. You're going to have to find a way to make that work. If you're working 7 days a week, yes, you have less time, but you might have more money to be able to optimize that a little bit more and have like a trainer or a coach or order a meal prep service. So I know that was a very long-winded answer, but I think ultimately you'll make time for what you prioritize. And all in all, you just need to make health and fitness more of a priority.
Yeah, and this is something, I mean, I'm on the same page with Josh. Like, what I will say about what we've built, it's going to tie into what I'm going to give as a tip, is that we've always been solution oriented. So whenever there's been a problem, whenever something pops up, the way that our brains work is just simply, okay, here's what's happened. How do we fix it? Here's what's going on. How do we navigate it, right? And I see a lot of people, I love Josh's example of the private jet example, because I know a lot of friends or people who've been struggling, and people who I know want to become better but just haven't really taken that leap. If I were to message them for something car related, if that's their passion, or concert related, usually it'd be like the quickest yes ever, because they make it a priority. They'd cancel whatever they had. They'd find the babysitter. They'd fill in the blank to make that work. But if I said, hey, we're going on a run, we're going to work out, we're going to lift weights, we're going to get some meal prep in, whatever it is that is healthy for us, usually it's like, oh, well, I can't. And this is where the conversation stops for a lot of people who are struggling, is the closed-minded, just like, end of conversation. I'm just ending it here. But the best way to succeed will always be, I can't, and then, but let me make it work. Let me find a way to make it work. Let me change my schedule. Let me look at later in the week. You guys see how I'm looking for solutions. And that's where I know things get busy. I know there's tournaments. I know there's nightly sports and activities. And most people will just end the conversation and say, well, you don't know what it's like. I have my son in fill in the blank, hockey, soccer, football, basketball, baseball, and I can't do it myself. And it's like, well, where can you do it? How can you make it work? Let's look at the morning. Let's look at later. Let's look at this. Let's look at that. And I just see a lot of people who are just consistently like, they just don't really care as much. And that's when they just end that conversation. And the best way you can see true results will be looking for those reasons to succeed, looking for those ways to succeed, finding those different ideas, looking for early morning type of opportunities, maybe later on. There's a lot of different options, but if you just close your mind and you don't allow yourself to look for those opportunities, you'll always just completely stop. And this is where the people who consistently succeed are the ones who will look for those options and those ways to navigate it. And that's something we've specialized in over the years, is I'm able to take a look at someone's schedule, and I'm able to see where their time's being used up, and I'm able to adjust their workout routines. And even a couple different clients recently who have gone back to work, as parents, now we're navigating the whole workout routine based off of the time they have. And ultimately, it's not about just being perfect and spending hours working out, but it's also not about just getting rid of it all. It's about making the adjustment so it actually fits your lifestyle. But the truth is, you have to want it, right? You can't just be someone who says, oh yeah, I kind of want to get in shape. Like, if you're someone who really deeply wants to become better, and you want to become better for yourself and your family and your future grandkids, and you really have that deep why. And that's why I wanted to talk about this, because it comes down to the priorities, and the things you prioritize are the things that are going to mean the most to you. And those who really just say, you know what, it's busy, but like in a couple years when they're a little like when work slows down and like my kids grow up a bit, then I'll be able to prioritize it. It's because you don't truly care enough. It's because you don't see it as something that means enough to you. And I just wanted to share that with you. So yeah, even like last thing I'll say, sorry, is lately I was just like, oh, I'm too busy to like go for my morning walk. Like there was a time where I was doing that just because I wanted to get a bunch of work done. And I was just like, this is so silly of me. Like I'm not too busy. I can make it work. And so for the last few weeks, I was like, all right, I'm just going to get up earlier. I'm going to work while my brain's fresh, get a ton done. And then I've been adding in that morning walk again as I got rid of it for a bit. But it's just so funny because we're not perfect. There will be those times where we feel like we're overwhelmed, we have a lot going on, but it's important to call yourself out. And that's exactly what I did. And that's what I've done to myself over and over again. And also my clients, is finding a way to make it work. That is always the solution, but it has to mean something to you.
Yeah, and fitness can be a sliding scale. There can be periods of your life where you can, like I said, really push, really see amazing progress. Whereas if someone just had like twins or something and like is a new mom and they just had the twins and they have to go back to work and all this and they had these massive feats and they wanted to compete in like a physique show or something, it might be like, hey, maybe this isn't the most appropriate time of life necessarily to go into this, but instead it's like, how can we do something instead of doing nothing? And I think that's where it comes to attitude as well, right? And I think we're really good at either rising to the occasion or falling to the occasion. And like a good example even of this is like I was getting one of my children ready to bring to the gym and I was kind of like, oh, it's a big process, this and that. And then I was thinking too, I'm like, this is like comically easy compared to what I normally do too. But because I only had the one in front of me, I like kind of changed my mindset towards it. And I think in general too, like if you look back at periods of your life, like for myself, I'll think there was like a time when I like lived at my parents' house and I played a bunch of sports. And I'm like, oh, it's so hard to be fit because I'm going through so much and I'm trying to find a job. And like looking back, I'm like, oh, this is adorable. Like this is little like teen problems, you know, like I had everything working for me, living at home rent free, food supplied. Like it was a good life. I had a ton of time, right? And I was playing some sports, but I go to the gym for like 3 hours. It was sweet. And then it's funny, obviously, like if you have one child and then two, and then someone else will say, well, I have 10 children. And like, it can become this game where you can use your excuses as like this reason why you can't succeed, but all you're doing is hurting yourself, right? Like it's like you attaching balls and chains to yourself and basically saying, oh, I can't because of this life I built. But instead, if you can just say, okay, like, what can I do? Like, yes, maybe I had a baby 3 months ago. Maybe I can't get back into powerlifting right away. Maybe I'm super swamped for time, but can I take them out on a walk every day? That's a win. Can I start cooking more? Can I order better food? Can I find time with my partner or my family to do 3 workouts a week and get out there for an hour and hit it hard and be on the best possible program? Like, and it's about appreciating where you're at. And some people might not be able to be in the gym 5 days and do 10K steps and do different things, but it's like, where can you be that you'll still see progress, you'll still advance, and being honest with that too, because I think a lot more of us have more time than we think. And one exercise I love recommending to people is keep a whole time audit. Do it in your notes or a journal and literally put the time you wake up, what you do, be honest with it. If you're scrolling reels, if you're doing nothing, if you're watching TV, and you might be surprised at how much time is being misallocated. And even for me, it's like you can go on Instagram for what feels like a few seconds, or you go on a 30-minute walk, which is going to make you feel way better. And that instant couple seconds is probably an hour, right? So I just think it's about giving yourself that support, identifying it, and I think accepting as well, like maybe no one understands how hard you have it or the challenges you have, but I assure you have some good things going on as well too. And it's like, how can you utilize your strengths and find solutions to your weaknesses?
Yeah, I love the time audit side of things. I feel like when I used to be really bad with this and always say, I don't have time, and just have these different thoughts, I opened up Google Calendar, which is awesome. It's free. It's cool because you can color code it. You can put in different buckets of like social, family, work, personal health. I have a reading category. Like I have a whole different, I don't use it as much because a lot of the stuff I do is just so habitual, but this is one of the greatest things because you will see, I promise you, you will see a lot of different gaps that you're like, wow, I didn't even realize, like, oh, this could have been a workout time. I didn't realize. And that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Like we're all humans. There's times we scroll, there's times we watch shows. Like I don't want to ever, take that away from someone. But when you have that reality check and you see that calendar color coded and are just like fully honest with yourself, it really it makes a big difference. And like, what's awesome is, yes, it takes a little bit of time to do this time audit, to use the Google Calendar and get it all set up, but it's something that you can make recurring. It's something that can just really add on a lot of extra time in the future. And I think that's so, so powerful. And the last thing I did want to just mention, that when it comes down to the fitness journey and being busy, a lot of people, I think, feel like it needs to be more than it actually is and harder than it actually is, right? So very much so, if you think you have to be in the gym 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and meal prep for hours, and this whole big daunting thing where you can never miss and never make a mistake, understandably so, it's going to be really hard to commit to. But that's where I'm such a big fan of making it work towards your lifestyle. And even I've been thinking so much, as Josh has been talking about, all of my clients who are mothers, who are business owners, who are fathers, and how much I've changed their program to make it fit their exact schedule and their exact routine. Some of them are part-time work with a little baby at home. Some of them now have 3 kids and they're working full-time, and some travel for work a lot. And everyone is so unique and different. And what I will say about my journey and what I do is, I truly believe in my absolute worst weeks, if I found out the most devastating news and I had so much piled on, I would be able to find a way to succeed, right? I'm not going to be perfect. I may not be hitting the gym a crazy amount, but I'm able to eat healthy. I'm able to make good decisions. I'm able to use all the tools that I have. I'm able to move my body. But once again, I think people feel the need to overcomplicate the journey. And that's why I always ask myself, could I follow my nutrition plan, my workouts, with everything I do on a really bad day? I truly believe it. And that's where having something set up so it's easy to follow is what allows you to do it day after day after day, whether you had a great sleep or not so great of a sleep, whether you feel super busy or whether you have a ton of time. And that to me is such an important difference maker to allow you to succeed for the rest of your life. So just wanted to share that as a final tip. It's very important to make your fitness journey fit your lifestyle.
Yeah, and big changes can start with small little incremental changes, like getting out on a daily walk, eating one healthy meal, having a recurring healthy breakfast. And especially the more you make these things common, the easier it becomes as well. So you got this, and that is our response to a really awesome question. And now we're going to jump into our quotes this week. And for my quote, we have, "You need to want to succeed more than you fear doing what it takes to get there." And I think this is what's amazing, because going off what we just said, it is scary to be like, okay, I love watching 3 hours of TV a night, or scrolling my Instagram or my TikTok for 3 hours. And it's scary taking away an hour of that and going to the gym late at night, or going out on a 30-minute walk where it might be hot, or I might get rained on a little bit or something. But oftentimes too, we forget that it will be hard. You will sweat. There will be challenge. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do, but that's how you transform. And if you want to succeed, you're going to be willing to cut these things out, or make these hard decisions, or say no to a second slice of cake, or take the time to log your food. So if you don't want it enough, you're just not going to see it. Change is painful. I think people really underestimate that. Like, it's hard replacing time you would have used somewhere else to get out to the gym, or eating healthy foods, or removing that snacking or something like that, or something that isn't serving you, because these are the things we've always done. If we do the things we've always done, we'll end up exactly where we are. We'll end up in the wrong direction. But when you want to forge a new identity, you want to break cycles, especially people that like overeat on the weekends. I work through this with clients. Like, it just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you've done it the last 4 weeks, it's a cycle. It's like a circle that never stops. And the only way to stop it is to actively break that, right? So one weekend to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. And you just eat normal, you nail your calories, and you make a point to say, I am breaking this cycle. And then you show yourself like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Whereas if every weekend your intention is like, I'm not going to overeat, and then you end up overeating, you're just going to expect to do it. In the back of your mind, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to cave. It's not going to be successful. So you need to change that identity. And that is difficult to do, but ultimately, you know, that's what's going to make you feel better, especially if you feel like miserable after these circles, and you feel like a failure, and you feel like every week you think it's going to be the week you succeed, and then you don't. Like, that is not a good feeling. And oftentimes, like, it seems so obvious, but I correct this with my clients so quickly by tracking, giving them tools, obviously making it easier, but saying, hey, show yourself you can do this once, and then it becomes so much easier to replicate that.
Yeah, just having those uncomfortable convos like with yourself is so powerful. It's going to lead me into my quote here, but what I'm trying to get at as well is just like, the best success I've ever had in my life and journey was when I just call myself out. Like, that is the reality. And obviously that's why this quote is pretty powerful here as well, on top of Josh's. What's stopping you? Are you too tired? Didn't get enough sleep? Don't have enough money? Don't have enough time? Is that what's stopping you? or is the thing that's stopping you you? And this was by Jocko Willink. And Josh sent me this video, motivational video. It was like 3 or 4 minutes. And that was like how the video started. And I'm just like, man, this is just so good. Like, obviously, he's got such an intense voice and there's like some background music and it was just, super, super hype. But what I gathered from that was just that oftentimes we're in the position that we're in because of ourselves. And when we can understand that and when we believe that and we know that we can make those changes, we're the one in control. That's when we're the best version of ourselves. That's when we can make the necessary changes to improve, to get to that next level. And I feel like it's so great with that first question that we were asked, like, are you too tired? You didn't get enough sleep. You don't have enough time. It's just when you look at yourself and you say, hey, I'm the one that can make these changes. I'm the one that's in control and I'm the one to blame. Like, I'm the one that has like a lot going on, right? And that's okay. But you're the one that can make the adjustments. It's not someone else. It's not another extra person. It is you who's in control. You're in the driver's seat. You can make whatever you want to happen. And it's you that has the complete control. So this is a very kind of intense quote, but it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. And I just wanted to share with you today.
Yeah, one fun thought I had that I was excited to share. I think this is a fun reframe. So instead of asking yourself like, who am I inspired by? You can ask yourself, who am I jealous of? And then you can aim to emulate that. And of course, it's like taking a negative to a positive. But I think if you ask yourself like, who am I jealous of? Like, who's living a life that I'd like to live? Or who's someone I want to be like as a fitness goal? Who's someone I want to be like for a family goal? And like, what can you pull? What can you learn from that person? So I just thought that was a unique thought and it's something to consider.
Now we're going to jump into the amazing client shout out for this week. So we are shouting out Kelly Guzman, who has seen some amazing body composition changes. She's lost about 15 pounds, but what's incredible about this transformation is you can see she looks like a whole different person. And we absolutely love these transformations where they're kind of in a position where they really want to gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. They're kind of in a bit of a unique spot where they want to start to look like they lift and they're toning up and they're tightening up and all that great stuff. And what's awesome is you can see her abs starting to pop, her body fat's down significantly, her muscle mass is up, and she's just in such a completely different situation and scenario. If you head over to our Instagram as well, every single Monday, we share the transformation from the podcast. We're also going to have a couple different videos that she has to say about the coaching program, as well as a few different tips that really helped her out. But it's just amazing to see how far she's come. And once again, I love using the weight as a tool to measure progress, but these photos, you can tell it's a completely different person day and night, right? I think it's about 13 pounds or so, but what's awesome is it looks like so much more. And that's because her entire body composition's changed. She went from being good to really just being great. And it's so amazing to see. So shout out to Kelly. Obviously, just being in the best coaching program in the world is what really helped her. And if you're someone who wants to get to that next level, there's literally no better time to start than now with the challenge. So to be able to take part, you have to be a coaching client. All you have to do is message us saying challenge to our Instagram at ColossusFit, ColossusUSFIT. The challenge will be starting very shortly, but you'll have the opportunity to win a $2,000 cash prize, a guaranteed exclusive prize upon completion, so much more, and just incredible results. So message us, challenge to claim your spot, and we can't wait to see you transform and join us for this amazing 30-day lock-in challenge.
Back into the mailbag here. Second question is body fat a good scale to gauge progress?
Yeah, I know a lot of people are still to this day really obsessed with body fat percentage, and a lot of people have different numbers in mind that they want to get to. And what I like is that oftentimes when I'm talking to people with their goals, it's kind of switched over from like body fat percentage to just wanting to lose fat, wanting to gain muscle, which I think is something very easy to accomplish with the right plan. And so I wanted to use myself as an example just to paint the picture, to give you some more understanding as to my thought process, what works for myself and also my clients. So recently I was about 180 pounds. This was a couple months ago, and I wanted to decrease my body fat percentage. I wanted to be leaner. I wanted to feel leaner. I wanted to look leaner. I wanted to be more confident. And so I started to pay attention to the scale. Now, every day I would weigh in, I would calculate the average, and I would make sure the average was going down. If not, I would adjust my calories and make sure it's going down. But between that, the monthly progress photos, as well as my monthly measurements, I needed to make sure that all three of these things were moving in the right direction. I needed to make sure I was maintaining my upper body mass as well when I did my measurements, but I also needed to make sure I was losing fat in the right areas when I did my photos. Now, based off of all of this stuff, in order to lose my body fat percentage and just to get to where I want to be, the scale had to reach a certain point that I wanted to get to. It had to go to about 165, and I knew that that would be the exact sweet spot. And so everything came together. I was super happy with. And the thing is, I didn't exactly think about what body fat percentage I was. I wasn't exactly just paying attention to that. And it was more so, hey, I want to look a certain way. I want to feel a certain way. And I wanted to start to see some different striations come in, some veins and all that stuff. And that was what I was striving for. Now, the biggest thing is that so many people put stock into body fat percentage, but they don't have accurate data to keep track of body fat percentage. It's been proven over and over again. A lot of scales, and even recently there's this scale called the Hume scale that a lot of people are doing reviews on, and it's not accurately tracking your body fat percentage, but it's just shooting out a bunch of different numbers. Like a lot of influencers won't even touch it, even though they're going to get paid a lot of money for it, because it's just not exactly accurate. And so that's where I think it's very, very challenging for a lot of people, because they have inaccurate numbers that are being shot out at them. And then it's kind of messing with their brain of like, oh, well, it went up this day and up, down that day, and they're putting too much stock into it. What I will say though, is if you have a tool and something that you can use that's accurate to keep track of your body fat percentage, it can be amazing. And so for us, every 6 months or so, we go to get a DEXA scan, which is tried and true. It is the gold standard for keeping track of a lot of data, but the body fat percentage is essentially accurate. So I know that if the last time I was about, I think it was, let's say 13 or 14% body fat, whatever that number is next time around, it's going to be pretty accurate, and it will tell me a lot of data of like, did everything I do did it work or did it not work? Did I make the right changes? And what can I do going forward? But most people, like I said, they don't have these types of tools. And that's where it gets a little bit challenging, is they're using like their gym scale at 10 a.m. on a random Monday. And like every few months they're stepping on it and holding the calipers, and it's just shooting all this random data to them. So that's where I don't really pay as much attention to it, because if I can see the photos, the measurements, the scales, the strength, and all that stuff, I can get a lot of information, and I know if you're progressing or not based off of the body fat percentage goals that you have.
And I loved Kyle's response. Him and I joke, because oftentimes we'll say to each other's response, I love that, but I think he absolutely nailed it there. And for me, body fat is one of those things, like it's like almost a pet peeve of mine when people talk to me about it. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's starting. And I'm sorry to let anyone down with that. Like, it is amazing. In theory, body fat, like Kyle said, it's ultimately what we want. I want to hold more muscle, have less fat, and I want to be shredded. I want to be ripped. My problem is like this number is so hard to accurately say what it is. And I've used this example before. If I paint a picture for you and I say, hey, there's a woman who's one of my clients and she's 200 pounds. Immediately, you're going to think, okay, like she probably looks a certain way. Maybe she's overweight, whatever. This woman could be absolutely shredded, six-pack abs, insanely strong, and just tall, right? Like the number doesn't mean anything. And I've said this before, like let's say I'm 300 pounds, right? And I say 300-pound man, you might have an image just the same. This dude's like 6'8", he's a monster, he plays football, he's a beast. Like no one cares about your weight. They care about how you look, right? And body fat's very much the same. Like I'll hear people, and like this used to drive me nuts. They'd say, I'm 8% body fat, bro. And I'd be like, no, you're not. Like there's just no chance. Like you have no visible ab definition. There's no striations. Like this number makes you feel good, but it's a false positive. And just the same, like we have a friend who holds his fat well visually, okay, like it looks good, but every time he does a test he's like almost obese. Like it's a wake-up call, right? Because just because you hold fat a little bit better and it visually looks good doesn't mean you're low fat, right? And that's where this number in theory is amazing. Like, and even that's why I like a DEXA, because it is a good tangible way for me to gauge my progress. But even a DEXA can be heavily manipulated. You can drink a ton of water and it will gauge the water as muscle, and it will report you as being with a higher muscle base and a lower body fat, which is going to screw your numbers entirely. And the same, like as you go down to bod pod, I would say it's DEXA, then bod pod, still a little more high quality, can run into the same issues. And then from there, you can go to calipers, which you could grab more fat or less fat. And then the worst of all is scales, which use calculation. So just the same, if there's a 300-pound male and he gets on that scale, it's going to tell him he's obese every time. That's why BMI is such a horrible metric. It doesn't take into indication muscle, right? It just takes your height, your weight, and what you should be. And if you're someone who's extraordinarily lean, you're ripped to the gills, you got veins on your abs have abs, like it's going to put you as high. It's going to say you're overweight. It's going to say you're 20% body fat. So I've done DEXA scans, which once again is the gold standard, where I've been like 11, 12%. And if I hop on one of those scales, I'll be 20%. It'll say I'm 20% body fat. Like, it's so incorrect. And then you could say, oh, like, but what are you actually? And then you can use visual tests, right? And we could look at Kyle's shoulders and say, okay, this guy's probably 4% body fat, which he isn't, but that's just where he doesn't hold fat. And for me, I could have leaner abs, but thicker shoulders. Like, so there's so many variables here, and that's where ultimately the best scale is you. And all of these things are tools. You'll know when you're lean, right? And a good metric too is like, how much ab definition do you have? Do you have the top two, the four, all six? Are you seeing veins on your abs? Are you seeing more vascularity throughout your body, more striations? Is there less visible holdable fat? Same with weight. Like I said, weight is a good skill, but it's not like a be all end all. It matters where you're at. And that's why progress photos are number one to me. Like, that is the best indication. Are you indeed actually progressing? Then scale is a pretty easy one to really hold true. But body fat can be good. So even I've had scales that have told me I'm 20, and as I lose weight, naturally that number will go down, and it can be inconsistently consistent to that metric. And that can be a positive there. So that's where, like, as a whole, I'm not a huge fan of it, because people will tell me they want to get to a certain number. And it's like, for me to get to, like, let's say 10% body fat on one of those home scales, I would need to lose so much of my muscle and lose so much weight. It just would never happen. It would kind of be like a silly goal for me to work towards, because I would net have a worse physique. So that's where, like, body fat is such a catch-all. And it's really fun to say you're these crazy low body fat percentages, but, like, realistically, no one cares. If you look good, you look good. Maybe someone will say, what body fat are you? And you say, I don't know, or I think I'm this. And I've even told people when I've been very lean, like, oh, like I'm 11 on a DEXA, and they're like, no, you're 5 or 4. And it's like, okay, if I was 4, I'd look like I'm half dead probably. Like, I would have like barely a shred of fat on my body. So that's where this one is so nuanced. And like, I understand the appeal and desire to look good and to be in a healthy body fat range. But even like as a coach, like, that's something I can coach my clients on. I'll say, okay, what do the numbers say? This is about where I'd put you at. And the reality is we'll never perfectly know. Like, unless we uniformly say this is the best absolute metric for body fat, which I suppose we could say is DEXA, and we're doing everything correctly, we're not having water, like, that would be your most consistent metric. If you have a bod pod to the gym, that's still pretty awesome, and you can get access to that every 3 months. It's like another position of data you can use on top of your measurements, on top of your photos, on top of all these things, which can also be manipulated, but they'll paint a total picture of, am I indeed going in the right direction?
And that's where even myself, I've kind of changed my thinking. Like, if you were to talk to me 10 plus years ago, I might have been that bro who's just like, I want to be sub 10% body fat, bro. But now I'm just like, if I want to do a cut, I'm like, hey, I need to lose 10 pounds and I want to get leaner. Like, you kind of see, like, I'm not exactly referencing body fat. I kind of am like, hey, I'm going to lose fat, but it's not just like body fat percentage, because once again, you don't want to become too fixated with it. Like, you just want to get leaner. And if I get down towards losing 10 pounds and I'm on the proper strength training program and eat my protein and stuff, I'll 100% get there. And that's where having the right plan, it just makes it so much easier. Like, I know when I'm helping someone and their goal is to lose 15, 20 pounds, I know with the right calories I set for them, the right strength training, the right amount of cardio, 100% chance we will get the right numbers in terms of losing the right amount of fat, keeping on the right amount of muscle. And it's just, it comes down to the process. It comes down to having the right approach. And that is what really makes a big difference. But the last thing I'll say is, I just think looking in the mirror and just getting a little uncomfortable and just staring at yourself and seeing, how do I look? How do I feel? Like, what does this make me, how does this make me feel, is just the greatest measurement tool ever, right? And even myself, if I do that, if I'm 180, mid 180s, I'm probably not going to feel that great. I'm going to feel a little bit insecure. I'll probably put on a little bit too much weight and I'm not going to feel as great. And so I think when it comes down to your overall kind of keeping track of your progress, when you're able to just take a good hard look at yourself in the mirror and just see, how am I visually looking? Like, everybody wants to look better. Everyone wants to just improve their composition. Like, if someone's listening to this and they don't, they're probably just not telling the truth. So that's where it is just such a great tool. And that's why every single month our clients send us progress photos. They send us a front photo, a side photo, a back photo. And this gives us so much good information as to how they're progressing. And we even put them side by side to see what exactly is taking place. And it's just such a great measurement tool. So I highly recommend, don't shy away from doing this stuff. A lot of people will be so obsessed with other tools, but they'll never even set up to get a proper photo, and they're never able to see their actual progress they're making. And this makes a really big difference on your journey.
Yeah, and I don't hate body fat. It has its purpose. And even in the spreadsheet where I have my clients track their measurements, I have a section for body fat if they want to put it, if they have a scale or some other metric. Like the more data, the better, because it'll paint a more total picture. I just think body fat is overly simplistic. And as you can see, there's more nuance behind it. And that's where I just don't love it, because also just the same, if your goal is just to bring body fat down, like I said, it doesn't encompass, are you putting on muscle? Are you actively improving your physique, your composition, which is very much a gauge. Like when you hear 8% body fat, you just think of being ripped and looking amazing and all this. But it's like, are you 8% body fat because you're starving and skinny? Or are you 8% body fat because you've leaned out, you have a good base of muscle? So there's more to it in terms of compositional goals. And that's where I would actually rather someone say, I want visible abs. I want to remove my back dimples. I want whatever it is. Like that's more of an actionable goal to me. And even though it's theoretically more vague, I find it's more achievable and it's more obvious. And what's nice too is there are certain markers, like when you, like, it's kind of a joke in the bodybuilding community, when you get really lean, you'll get like striations, like feathering. You'll see your muscle feathering on your glutes, which is like absurdly lean, because glutes are where you should be holding a lot of your fat. But there are markers, right? And abs are such a good indication of that. As you get leaner, you'll see more and more definition in your abs. You'll see more veins. There's like certain tells that are cool. And like that's where as a coach I can help people with this more. But like if you have a scale and you're seeing it continually going down, you got a ton of fat to lose and you already have like a good muscle base, like sure, that could be an extra thing, but that's where like I think people put it as number one when it shouldn't be. So I think that was an awesome question. Hopefully you appreciated that answer. Had to lay some truth there. But for our third and final question, and this once again is another awesome question. I mean, these are all great questions. So if you have questions to submit, like I like to say, there are no dumb questions. Please do so. We have a direct link. You can click in the show notes here, submit a Mailbox Monday question. Click that. It will take you right to a form to submit it. It'll go straight to us, and we'd love to feature you on the episode. But for our third question, we have, for someone who's just starting and feels overwhelmed by how far they have to go, where should they begin? So what I would really recommend is just start with one thing, one change. Like don't try to overhaul your whole life overnight. Like for me, even when I started, I remember distinctly, I'm like, okay, you know what? I never was a big juice drinker or anything like that, but I'm like, I'm having no liquid calories. That's going to be my first start. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start walking some more. And then it's like, all right, I'm going to start to learn to work out. And like naturally it becomes a lot more achievable and something nice. And even one tiny decision, if you say tomorrow I'm going to wake up and immediately go for a walk, and that's just going to be my non-negotiable, and you do that for a week, you'll be amazed at how good you feel by just making one small change. And oftentimes taking that one positive first step encourages you to take more. And that's where like even we'll have adages with our clients where we say, hey, if you don't want to go to the gym, like go anyways. And if you want to leave after 10 minutes, you can leave. 99% of the time, you're going to stay there. You're going to feel good. You're going to see people working hard, listen to some music, and you'll be ready to go. And I think very much with journeys, like instead of trying to do these crazy, massive leaps of progress where you're like, I'm going to never eat a fun food again. I'm going to have no sugar. I'm going to walk 20,000 steps a day and I'm going to lift for 3 hours. Like it sounds cool and there's like a hoorah to it. But at the same time, like it's not going to be your best friend. But on the flip side, I also think there does need to be some degree of a buy-in, especially if you want to have big change. So with my clients with their cuts, like some coaches will begin people's dieting phase with like a drop of 100 to 50 calories, and like your body will net that out by just moving less. Like your body's smart. You'll dance a little bit less in the car, so your neat non-exercise activity thermogenesis will just be adjusted. Then usually when people do this, they're like, what the heck, I'm eating 100, 200 calories less, but I'm seeing no change. And that's where like a more meaningful drop to start your cut, where you actually have to make decisions and be like, oh shoot, like, okay, I can't have this cake and this other dessert anymore. Like it needs to be one or the other. And like oftentimes that first step isn't big, but it makes it more real and it makes you have to be a little more intentional. And then you see the scale drop. And then obviously when you see results, you get addicted. So there's an awesome opportunity there. And that's where I think these little jump starts or things that really add momentum and excitement can be so powerful alongside the small start. And even like challenges are such a good example of this. So we have our 30-day lock-in challenge, and this isn't designed to be this crazy thing like I mentioned earlier where you're giving up everything you love and you're living an unrealistic life. But this 30-day lock-in challenge is like an opportunity for you to say, hey, I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to do a challenge. I'm going to try to win this grand prize, and I'm going to make a meaningful effort over 1 month, which is a baby step. Like a month is not a long time. Like we can all do 30 days. It's really not a big deal. And you can see so much change with that buy-in by saying, hey, I'm going to take this seriously. I'm investing. I'm doing this challenge. I'm getting a coach. And then what's awesome too about the way we run challenges, you're getting coaching before the challenge because it's starting September 1st. So if you sign up today, you're going to get like a week or two, I believe it is, of coaching, which is going to be great to kind of build some habits, get you rolling, really sink into that challenge. I'm going to teach you how to transition out, and we can reevaluate where things are in your life, where there's balance, where we can push more, where we can grow. So those would be my top tips.
Yeah, the challenge is honestly the greatest place to start, especially with the way that we have it set up. So if you're someone who even feels like there's so much information out there, like even if you're not someone who is like brand new, this can apply to anybody who feels overwhelmed. Because once again, when you go online, when you talk to your friend at work, when you talk to a family member, there's a very high chance you're going to feel overwhelmed with, should you do keto? Should you do intermittent fasting? Should you run? Should you bike? Should you lift? Should you, whatever. That is the biggest and actual most important thing, is having something like, my answer is going to be a bit different than Josh here, but having an approach where you're just focused on the most important stuff. Because I truly feel like the reason most people become overwhelmed is because they allow themselves to, and because they are so easily influenced by every other person out there. Like you'll hear me talk about flexible dieting and you're like, okay, cool. That's what I'm going to start with this week. I'm going to listen to Josh and I'm going to go for a couple walks and that's what I'm going to do. But then like you talk to the person at the barbecue this weekend and they're talking to you about how they lost 30 pounds doing keto. And then so you're like, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. So I'm going to take what Josh said, but I'm also going to add that. And then when you do go to the gym to sign up for the first time, there's going to be a trainer talking to you about doing this. And then you're like, I'm going to go to GNC, so I'm going to buy supplements, and you're adding in supplements and you're adding in this and you're adding in that. And you've just created this system that is so much harder for you to achieve, and you end up struggling. So that's why my biggest thing is paying attention to a few small things, making a few small steps forward, allowing the momentum to build, and joining us for this challenge. Make sure to message us saying challenge. We'll take care of you. We'll get rid of all the fluff. We'll make sure that you're following the most important stuff, and you'll get some incredible results. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. I just want to say I appreciate you all. If you've made it to the end, you're deeply valued. You're a real one, and we really appreciate you. Message us challenge on Instagram at ColossusFit, COLOSSUSFIT, and we'll see you Thursday for the next episode. Peace out.